Have you ever been really excited to start a Warhammer campaign, and then you look at the starting army and you think, I just don't like this, or you think it's not quite up to the job that's necessary in the first turn, or maybe you even think it's overpowered for a starting army, or maybe you're like me and you like really thematic armies and you don't kind of like the hodgepodge of different units that most starting armies comprise, or anything else related to your starting army. Well, here we have an example of me fighting a battle on turn 1 with Scarbrand with a couple of Bloodthirsters, including a Regiment of Renown, and of course our Blood Reaper hero, and of course a Soul Grinder, because why not? All on turn 1. And it's great fun, and you're probably wondering, well, how the heck did I pull this off? Well, I am, of course, referring to a new mod that as soon as I saw it, my head started spinning with different ideas for how to, I wouldn't say abuse it, but how to take advantage of it in some really creative ways. So I am, of course, referring to the Customize Starting Units mod by SUDKKS. I'm going to just say Suddix. Anyway, brand new mod, and like I said, as soon as I saw it, I got pretty excited by it. I think it's the kind of mod that if you're creative and you like trying out different ideas, you'll really see a lot of potential in this one. So let's go ahead and dive into exactly what it does and show a couple of examples of it. So it's really, really simple to use. Basically, you automatically at the very first turn get a button that you can use to wipe out your starting army. You get an additional 5,000 gold with which to buy completely new units, and then you just have to live with the results. So let's go ahead and show a couple of examples. Alright, so right off the bat, loaded into an Ungrim Iron Fist campaign here, and you will immediately notice this button down here on your army panel. Customize starting units. This will clear existing units and gain 5,000 gold. Well, let's go ahead and give this a try. Boom. Sure enough, he's got no army right now. He's got 1,500 treasury. He started at 10,000, excuse me. So, if you want to really put yourself in a bind, you can say, okay, you know what? I think that Ungrim should start with, let's say, 8 miners, okay? So this would be a good way to really kind of handicap yourself. You can choose any kind of unit, obviously, as your starting army, or, quite frankly, no starting army at all, if that's what you want. Definitely that would make the campaign start out on a completely different note. Or, alternatively, you'll notice, by the way, that all of these are already automatically in the army and at full strength, and it has already deducted from the treasury. If I click this again, can't do anything. That clicking it again is what finishes it. So boom, that's what we're stuck with. So I was going to actually show 2 different alternatives that you could do here, but I'm going to have to load the game back in again to show you the second alternative. Alright, and so here we are again, back in the same, let's pretend it's the same campaign, it's an Ungrim campaign again, and taking a look once more, we can click this button, we'll gain the 5,000 gold. Up there we have our choice of units, and it looks like the entire roster is available to us, so that makes it kind of fun. Now, what I really like about this, and you know, it's obviously extremely exploitable. We could go ahead and give ourselves, with 15,000, we could really give ourselves, for these like Iron Drakes and some gyrocopters and some heavy-duty artillery. And I mean, you got basically whatever you can afford. Now, keeping in mind, of course, that you're going to have to pay for it long term, so that is certainly a consideration, but it's obviously something that is fairly exploitable. However, what I really like about this is you can set up some really thematic armies. Those of you who've watched any of my Let's Plays know that I'm a big fan of setting up thematic armies, not doom stacks, although you can make a Doomstack thematic or a thematic army a Doomstack, but more rather than trying to just break the game and feel overpowered, but rather try to play in a thematic way. So I think that this really is a great way to do that. So let's go ahead. This is Ungrim. Let's go ahead and give him, you know, a cadre here of Slayers. Maybe we'll go ahead and give him, no, we don't want to give him any regiments of renown to start with, but we can give him a giant Slayer unit. And how about maybe a Doomseeker? And of course, we want to give him a couple of these, not him. Where's the pirates at? These Slayer pirates right there. Boom. Give him a couple of these. And so at this point, you can already see we've burnt through half of our money. We've actually gone ahead and spent more than the 5,000 that you get allotted to you when you click on this button. But still, we could keep going if we wanted to. But I think that's enough. You get the idea here. Actually, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to give him one. Where is it? One of these Goblin Hewer Specialist Artillery. Boom. We're going to give him one of those as well. Because my understanding is, aren't these sort of... Yeah, these are unbreakable as well. So these are actually manned by Slayers as well. So I think we've got thematically all Slayers here, plus Ungrim himself. And then if we click on this again, I think this is going to finalize it. Boom. Sure enough, panel disappears, button disappears. We're stuck with what we chose. So there you go. Now we have a nice, very thematic Ungrim Iron Fist army from the very beginning of the game. Again, a little bit abusable probably, but for those who can resist temptation or want to set up a particular starting scenario, I think I think you can immediately see how extremely useful this is. Okay, and so here we are now with the army that I used in the intro to this video. As you can see, I've wiped out Skarbrand's starting army and replaced him with nothing but single entity epic. Let's see how far we can get with such a tiny army but extremely strong unit army. And we're going to, of course, go ahead and add our hero into the mix. And so as you can see, we started out with 5,000 gold even after we wiped out our starting army and gained another 5,000. Boom, we're already down below what our starting point was. So it's definitely not something that can be abused to the point of it being really, really overpowered, I don't think. Now, there may be some creative people who think of a way to abuse it a little bit more than I just did. But in any case, there are at least limits to what you're going to be able to do with it. But let's go ahead and take this army, and let's go ahead and attack them. And just out of curiosity, there we go. If we were going to auto-resolve it, boom. You can see that this, despite only having 5 single entity units, very strong starting army. Might be a lot of fun to see how far Skarbrand can go with nothing but a bunch of super elite, but only a few of them, units in his starting army. All right, and so here is another example, and this is actually a campaign that I've kind of had in the back of my mind for some time, which is, what about a Helmengorst all-zombie campaign? Meaning, what if Helmengorst was only ever allowed to have zombie units in his armies? Well, it's basically, the question is, how far could Helmengorst go with just zombies? I think it would probably be incredibly difficult to go very far, certainly to take over the world with just zombies, particularly if you're not just auto-resolving every combat, which I, of course, don't do. But in any case, I always kind of thought it would be an interesting test to see just how far can Helmengorst go with nothing but zombies in his armies. And in the early game, he could actually probably do quite well. It's only once you get to the mid-game and definitely into the late game when he's just not going to be able to compete at all. But let's just say that you had an idea like that for yourself of, what if I wanted to be, I don't know, let's say Queek Headtaker using nothing but clan rats, or maybe Tretch with nothing but storm vermin, or something like that. So you could really kind of thematically set up your start using this mod. So if we click here on Helman Gorst, and we just wipe out, as you can see here, he's got 12 units, but he's got a mix of, you know, some decent units thrown in with his zombies, of course. And don't get me wrong, I don't think there's anything wrong with this starting army. I think it's already fairly flavorful. I don't think CA did a bad job in creating his starting army, or for that matter, most of the other legendary lords that I'm familiar with as well. But let's just say that we wanted to be a purist in this particular case, so we just want to go ahead and give him nothing but a bunch of these guys. So let's go ahead and give him, I think it was 12 units that he had before, so now he's got 12 nothing but zombies. So boom, there we go. Now we'll go ahead and bring in our White King, because why not? Let's get him into the army as well. And now you've really kind of put yourself behind the 8 ball, because this is obviously, until Helman Gorst starts getting his skill ups that really boost zombies quite effectively, as well as some of the technologies that you can research here to boost zombies, this is obviously now an incredibly weak army. But one thing you can do as the VC, of course, is you can recruit in some more units with Raised Dead. Well, there you go. We could get 2 more in using the Raised Dead mechanic. There we are. Now we're up to 15, and let's say that we were going to go ahead and launch this attack. We probably could win this first battle, but suddenly we're now looking at a close victory rather than whatever it would have been. It probably would have been a decisive victory with the regular starting unit. So you just, in this particular case, you know, we gave up our Mortis engine, for example, so in a corpse cart. So yeah, I think there's a lot of sort of variety, a lot of ideas that you can sort of pursue using this. It's a very simple mod. I think that it's you know, going to have its limitations. It can't completely transform a campaign. All it's doing is letting you change your beginning army, but still the you know, the possibilities are pretty prolific. I can see a lot of different uses for it. So anyway, I'm kind of tempted to try a campaign as soon as I get a really good idea of what would be a cool starting thematic army. I may try one myself, but hopefully this has given you some ideas, and you can go ahead and try this mod for yourself.